Apparently, it's not just Kim Kardashian that's treating her own housekeepers like shit, but also her close friends are treating their housekeepers even more horrifically. Now, let's backtrack a second though and talk about Kim losing her lawsuit to her housekeepers and what exactly happened there. So according to NBC News, the lawsuit filed by Los Angeles attorney Frank Kim said plaintiffs never received any pay stubs, were not paid on regular pay periods, were not given their required meal and rest breaks, were not provided a means to record all their hours, were not paid all their hours, were not reimbursed for employment expenses, were not paid all their overtime wages, and were not paid their wages upon termination of employment. Wow. The 40-year-old Kardashian West runs a media, cosmetics, and clothing empire, and earlier this year was named in Forbes magazine's list of billionaires for the first time. So a representative apparently said on Kim's behalf that these workers were hired and paid through a third-party vendor, hired by Kim to provide ongoing services. The representative said in a statement, Kim is not party to the agreement made between the vendor and their workers. Therefore, she is not responsible for how the vendor manages their business and the agreements they have made directly with their staff. Kim has never not paid a vendor for these services and hopes that the issue between these workers and the vendor who hired them can be amicably resolved soon. Now, aside from all this, Kim apparently hates being single, but she's struggling to find a man at the moment that's rich without the fame, because no man who's rich wants to be famous, because then they've got to put up with all her shit and the media, and as we know, she's the most famous woman on the planet at this point, and things like so come with the territory. I guess a lot of people can't handle that. Well, it turns out even Kim's close friends can't keep out of the public eye, and so now no one wants to be friends with her, no one wants to date her because of her image. So she has a lot of wealthy friends, and now they're having to put up with their past getting dug up just by being affiliated and associated with Kim, and it's bringing far more attention to these scandals that have happened in the past. And this is a hell of a lot more shocking than Kim's treatment towards her maids. So Kim's friends Rochelle Azoff and her husband, who is apparently a very wealthy multi-millionaire and music's most powerful man, have been accused of doing some effed up shit to their maid. Let's investigate. So apparently the wife of music producing mogul Irving Azoff allegedly subjected her female housekeeper to a year-long campaign of sexual assault and battery. So there's a bombshell lawsuit that was recently obtained by Daily Mail that claims Rochelle Azoff targeted her employee with cruel and sadistic punishments. The victim's lawyer, Frank Kim, said his client believes Rochelle enjoyed it. It was like a game to her. What kind of a lawyer would say this? Disgusting. So the article went on to state the wife of an ultra-powerful music producer inflicted horrific sexual abuse and torment on her female housekeeper, a bombshell lawsuit claims. Rochelle Azoff has been accused of gender violence, battery and sexual harassment towards her ex-maid. And the lawsuit is just so disgusting, and it really makes you question what kinds of people Kim Kardashian is hanging out with in her own time. Azoff is the wife of Irving Azoff, a legendary producer who was labelled the most powerful man in the music industry by Billboard magazine in 2021, after working with artists including Christina Aguilera, Bon Jovi, and the Eagles. The couple are worth an estimated $400 million. And it also makes you question who are the people that have been working with this couple. Rochelle Azoff allegedly targeted Martinez with cruel and sadistic attacks, which are said to have included spanking Martinez, squeezing her breasts, and burning her with cigarettes. Now, Kim obviously wasn't accused of doing all this to her housemaids that have sued her. That lawsuit was far more tame. Obviously, Kim would never do things like this. I mean, I hope she wouldn't, but like the fact that her best friends, like people who she's associated with, been to their house, hung out with them, probably seen how they treat their maids behind the scenes, it really makes you question, Kim, what the F? And is she still friends with these people? Because she hasn't exactly spoken out about this. She hasn't exactly made a statement. But then again, of course, she never made a statement with the Balenciaga scandal until she was actually forced to make a statement. It's very weird, and you know, the lawsuit, it even gets more disturbing. So apparently the housekeeper was also forced to clean Azoff's toys and smell her employer's soiled nightwear. Azoff is further accused of making Martinez, who is a size 14, squeeze into a size 10 outfit. What the heck was her husband doing? Was he just sitting there watching it? Like, he lived in the house with them. He can't just be like, oh my god, I never saw this happen. I never saw anything. Like, that's your housekeeper. Like, what the heck? After complaining about the abuse alongside unpaid overtime, Martinez claims the behaviour escalated up to 3 times a day in retaliation. Okay, now I just want to quickly talk about the unpaid overtime. Obviously, this is like very minor in comparison to everything else the lawsuit is going into, but it just kind of makes you question, why do these billionaires not pay their workers? Like, why don't they do it? Like him, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I had no idea, like that had nothing to do with me. Like, are you serious? Like, her housekeeper's probably like confronted her and was like, yo, where's our paycheck? And she would have been like, oh, deal with it with the vendor. I don't have time to deal with shit like this. Billionaires, millionaires, they just don't pay their employees, it sounds like. And you know, it gets worse because Martinez claims that Rochelle's husband knew about the assaults occurring in his LA mansion, and apparently he failed to step in. So there you have it. He obviously knew it was happening. He was sitting back and just letting it happen. And people that just sit back and watch that shit are just as bad as the abuser. So, you know, he should be getting sued as well, if he isn't already. Now, apparently Irving was also accused of having prior knowledge that Rochelle Azoff had sexually batteried, abused, and harassed other victims in the past. He never spoke out about it, he didn't care, so this thing has been occurring for years, like way prior to the current housekeeper. And it makes you wonder, all the victims that are out there that have been, you know, silently suffering over the years, this is the only person who has spoken up about this. This is the only person that is suing them. And who knows what Rochelle has said to her victims in the past to keep them silent. Clearly Martinez is very strong for speaking up against this and for suing. So apparently Rochelle first allegedly began her reign of terror in April 2022. That's not even that long ago. That's seriously not long ago at all. Around 4 months after hiring Martinez as the live-in housekeeper. But after falling out over alleged unpaid overtime and Rochelle's demanding schedule, she then retaliated with cruel and intimidating behaviour that was often sexual in nature. Is disgusting. Forcing her housekeeper into submissive obedience. The abuse allegedly included spanking the housekeeper and pinching her cheeks until she teared up. And of course, we've got to remember there's a massive power imbalance here. This woman is living with them. She might not have a choice to go and live somewhere else. She may have felt trapped. That's why she stayed. And so with this happening and that would have really affected her mental state. And then it goes on to state Rosa was living paycheck to paycheck, and it was a job she really needed. So once again, this massive power imbalance. And of course, this wasn't the first person that this had happened to. The lawyer stated, my client felt that it was a game to her, Azoff. She knew that Rosa needed the job and wanted to see what she could get away with. Azoff allegedly escalated the abuse in April 2022 when she began sexually assaulting her housekeeper around 3 times a day. On one occasion, Azoff allegedly approached the housekeeper and violently squeezed her breasts. And when she attempted to escape Azoff's clutches, she allegedly referenced a previous housekeeper's lawsuit for similar allegations, saying, what are you going to sue me for? Sexual harassment? And notably, media mogul Irving Azoff was also named in the lawsuit, and it was alleged that he knew about the sexual assault on his home, but obviously refused to take action. So this housekeeper unfortunately went through over a year of emotional and sexual abuse. And then she eventually told them that she would be quitting. We've got to remember that she was living paycheck to paycheck. She felt like she had nowhere else to go, and that's why she stayed so long in that situation. Apparently, she was also intimidated into agreeing to stay until Azoff found her replacement, leading her to remain in the home for almost 2 more months. So when she did eventually finally make her way out of the home, apparently Azoff defamed the housekeeper to the agency that she was employed with in hopes hopes to probably make sure that she can't get any jobs in the future, to hopefully get her to come back and work for her. Very cruel, very malicious, very evil, and it really shines light on the types of people that Kim Kardashian is friends with, because Kim hung out with these people many times. There's many photos of her with them. She hung out with them personally, really good mates with them. And I'm not saying that Kim would go out of her way to do these things to other people, but it just goes to show that she's kind of being tarred with the same brush at the moment. And people are like, how does their actions have anything to do with Kim? Just like the Balenciaga scandal, Kim hasn't spoken out about this scandal, and she probably never will unless she is forced to. If she's seen hanging out with these people in the future, then we know for sure that Kim's a bad person. But knowing Kim, she's probably going to cut them off. So let me know your guys' thoughts on this horrific lawsuit in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for more updates.